listeners, Movie Miss here, and the episode you are about to listen to is one of two episodes that cover the same film. I thought I would give you a warning because this is a format that you are not used to hearing on the show. This was a trial run back in season 1 when my co-host was Nikki Flixx. We weren't really wanting to heavily debate movies where one of us liked a film and one of us hated the film. We didn't feel like that would be a whole lot of fun, so we were giving this solo episode a trial run. We covered 4 films in this fashion, and I will be releasing them into the main feed. What happened was I would pick a film that I pretty much hated. I recorded an episode, a full episode, doing a plot walkthrough and scene dissection, talking about in depth my thoughts and feelings on everything happening. And then Nikki would take the opposing opinion and opposing views and do the same thing on her full-length episode. She would do a full plot walkthrough, scene dissection, discussing positive themes and notes and kind of defending the film in a way. So we just thought that would be an easier format for discussing movies that I really didn't care for. I will be dropping both opposing episodes at the same time, so you can choose which one you want to listen to, or if you want the back and forth, listen to both and see maybe one of us will sway you to the dark side. With me, I have cookies, come to the dark side. With all of that said, here is the episode. Enjoy.
You're listening to the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home to hundreds of hours of free podcast entertainment. The shows on this network all have a common goal: providing you with the best discussions about movies and other forms of entertainment media. The PFPN hopes to fill your earholes with audio joy. Visit our website with links to all the other amazing shows at www.thepfpn.com. Thanks for listening.
It used to be that calling a film a turkey was an insult. Nowadays, there's actually an audience for some of the worst movies ever made.
Baby, you are gonna go broke showing turkeys like these.
Now we're talking turkey.
Gobble, gobble, motherfucker.
It's turkey time. Gobble, gobble.
Welcome to Let's Talk Turkeys. This is Nikki Flixx. I will be flying solo today, discussing the 2008 film Twilight. We will be talking about just the original movie in the series. Twilight has a Rotten Tomatoes score of just 49%. It was pretty panned by the critics. However, it was a box office smash. There are so many fans of the books, fans of the film series. There are just as many who absolutely hated this movie, hated the series, particularly hate the character of Miss Bella Swan. If you've listened to a few episodes of Let's Talk Turkeys, you probably started to pick up that I myself am definitely a proud feminist. I love films that depict strong women. I love films that are made by women. It's definitely something that I hone in on and look for. So you might be wondering how someone as outspoken about their feminism as I am could be a fan of the film Twilight. Let's go ahead and dive into some information about the movie, and you will find out shortly. So I'm going to be referencing just a few things that I got from a great article on The Guardian written by Kate Muir. She wrote an article about the original film back in 2018 to celebrate its 10th anniversary. She was a bit of a reformed fan of the movie like I am. Didn't particularly care for it originally, but came around on subsequent viewings or as time passed. So she talks a lot about the fact that Stephenie Meyer, a woman, wrote this series of novels, and when the first book was going to be adapted to a movie, you have a female director, Miss Catherine Hardwicke. They were working with a script that was also written by a woman. Melissa Rosenberg wrote the version of the script that Catherine Hardwicke fought to use. There were apparently numerous variations on the script, and they started to get further and further away from Stephenie Meyer's novel. At one point, there was a version of the script that depicts Bella escaping the FBI on a jet ski. So if you can just kind of imagine that happening in the world of Twilight, it sounds absurd. So thank you to Catherine Hardwicke for sticking to her guns and going with the script written by Melissa Rosenberg, which stays very true to the novels. So Catherine Hardwicke, she definitely was working with a limited budget. Typical budget for a CGI fantasy horror action film would be around $200 million, given how much CGI and special effects you're going to be needing to use. The budget here for the original Twilight is just $37 million. Very, very short shoot as well. Only 44 days to get the film in the can with that very limited budget. Catherine Hardwicke was up against all the odds making this movie, so the fact that it turned out looking the way that it does is really a testament to her artistic vision and her work ethic, her ability to pull off what she accomplishes with this movie visually on such a tight budget. She was also a big stickler with the casting, which I think really says a lot about her integrity as an artist. Catherine Hardwicke is the reason you see so much racial diversity among the cast in this movie. So she insisted on finding the right Bella first and foremost, because the books and this movie are really about her. It's about her as a human being, so casting that role perfectly was definitely the first and foremost thing that she had to do, and build up around Kristen Stewart. So once they found Kristen Stewart, who at the time was relatively unknown, they insisted on bringing in actors to play Edward, and they had to make it past a chemistry test with Kristen Stewart. Obviously, we know with hindsight that there was a real connection between Kristen Stewart and Robert Pattinson. They did end up dating in a relationship for several years during the making of these movies. And so that chemistry is so beautiful and obvious between the two of them. And it really is what holds this film and the series together. Robert Pattinson wouldn't have been cast if he didn't have that chemistry with Kristen Stewart. So super cool that Catherine Hardwicke insisted that that was a must when casting the role of Edward. She also pushed to make sure that among Bella's friends, the people that you're seeing in the town, the kids that she goes to school with, there was a lot of diversity there, which was not in the books and was not something that Stephenie Meyer or the studio was concerned with. Catherine Hardwicke really pushed that issue. So because of that, you get Justin Chon as Eric, Christian Serratos as Angela, you get Gregory Boyce as Tyler. The number one thing that she really pushed for was the casting of Eddie Gathegi as Laurent. In the books, all the vampires are depicted as being super pale, definitely white, with the, glittering, sparkling skin. So the casting of a Kenyan American actor as Laurent was a big deal, and Catherine Hardwicke really pushed for that. So I love that she definitely infused her political views when it comes to understanding how important diversity is, and that there are plenty of people of color, and that with the Native American characters that they were ethnically correct. I like that she really pushed for that. So this looks like the real world because there's plenty of people of color and diversity in the real world, and I love that she insisted on going with that. So if we talk about what a success this movie was at the box office, again, it had a budget of $37 million. It made almost $70 million by Sunday of its opening weekend, and eventually made just over $400 million worldwide. The only of the series of Twilight movies that is directed by a woman. This is a movie about a teenage girl based on a book written by a woman, directed by a woman, using a screenplay written by yet another woman. So its success was shocking, and it really encouraged Hollywood to start thinking about young women, teenage girls, the early 20s, that age range, focusing on females and what they might want to be seeing. So shortly after the release and success of Twilight, you see Disney putting out Brave, and then a few years later, Frozen. So the first times that you're really seeing Disney movies focusing on a quote-unquote Disney princess whose goal in life is not to be saved by Prince Charming. So that starts to come about after Twilight. And then you also saw this onslaught of films about a female character led by strong actresses based on really cool young adult material, like The Hunger Games and the Divergent series. All of that came after Twilight. So I really think when it comes to understanding young women and the power they have at the box office, we owe a lot of what came after this movie to Twilight and to Catherine Hardwicke. She was primarily an indie filmmaker before she stepped into Twilight, and if you haven't checked out any of her other work, I would highly suggest 13 and Lords of Dogtown. They're fabulous movies. She's an amazing artist. She has a very unique eye and a really cool point of view. So if you want to check those films out and you haven't already, I highly suggest that you watch them. So diving into the movie itself, right away you notice this color palette that Catherine Hardwicke is using. It's really effective and beautiful. Lots of cool tones, grays, greens, emphasis on the greens and blues. That really cool palette lends itself to the settings in the Pacific Northwest, because if you've ever been in that area, I used to live in that region. So much lush greenery, so many cool water features that you can check out. The Columbia River Gorge, Multnomah Falls, just all these beautiful lush places. So this cool color palette that she's using really showcases the beauty of the Northwest. And most of this movie was shot on location in and around Oregon and Washington. Another really cool choice by Catherine Hardwicke to do that. The subsequent films, there's more of a, you're staying in one place, you're in one house, or you're in one area, not so much exploring the town. And those films were not filmed in the same locations that this one is. They were recreating the Cullen house, recreating Charlie's house on sound stages or in another city that's cheaper to shoot in. So it's really cool that this first movie, you're getting the true beauty of the Pacific Northwest by everything being shot on location. So when the film is getting going, it's really important, if you're gonna stop and say, oh, I hate Twilight because it's super anti-feminist, Bella Swan's a terrible character. I myself am definitely a proud feminist, and I look for strong women when I'm watching a movie. Right at first, when I first saw this movie, I understood Bella the way that a lot of women, adult women, did, which was, just she's going around doing everything she can because a guy's telling her to, and she needs a guy to protect her. She's awful. She's the worst thing to happen to feminism since the sandwich. That was pretty much my opinion. A lot of women shared that view. My opinion has changed, though, on subsequent viewings over time. I definitely do not see Bella that way anymore. So if you want to kind of roll with me and see Bella and the movie through my eyes, you maybe might change your opinion if that's how you feel about her. When we're opening the movie, everything starts with Bella making a really conscious decision to leave the world that she's comfortable in, that she has known, which is living in what looks like the Arizona desert, with her mother. And she's going to move to a completely different landscape, a totally different area of the country. It's somewhat unfamiliar to her. And while she's doing that, she's also putting herself in the awkward situation of trying to reconnect with her father, who she doesn't see a whole lot off and on throughout her childhood. It's a really bold move for a teenager to be making. I know myself as a teenager, the idea of picking up and having to move to another state, go to another school was terrifying, and I really wouldn't choose to be in that position. The fact that she's choosing that, it's a really bold decision for her. Her determination to choose her own path and choose her own fate is being established right off the bat. So then we meet Charlie, Bella's father, played by the amazing Billy Burke. He does such a fantastic job establishing who this character is in this movie. He's a really sweet and doting father. He's definitely missed having her around and having that connection with her. He tries really hard, but he kind of gets in his own way because he's used to the bachelor life. He's a bit of the, overprotective, shotgun-toting dad, which makes sense because he's also the chief of police. But Billy Burke, he does a really great job establishing the character, and then throughout the series, you get him peppered throughout as Charlie, just maintaining his presence. He sets that up in this movie, though. So Bella gets to Forks, and then she goes to school, and she meets some other kids and make some friends. Among them is, of course, Miss Anna Kendrick. This is the first time I really remember seeing her in a film and having her stick out to me. She's just so cute and quirky. I love the sort of insecurity that she portrays, where she's wanting to be friends with Belle, but she's also a little jealous of the attention Belle's getting. Just that she rides that line between, oh, she's like the bitch that's going to talk behind her back, but then I also want to hang out and be friends with her. Anna Kendrick is, of course, gone on to incredible things after Twilight, but I love that she's a part of this film, and she's way more present in this movie than she is in any of the rest of the series. So this movie in particular definitely has Anna Kendrick going for it. It's one of the things that I love most about this movie. So the use of kind of a subtle humor, little things that are definitely designed to kind of make you giggle throughout. It's a common thing that continues throughout all the movies, but as the material gets way more serious, you lose a bit of it. In this movie in particular, it's definitely more present. The humor. I remember being in the theater and everybody just busted out laughing when the Cullens are first coming into the cafeteria, and you have Alice and Jasper come in for the first time. And Anna Kendrick says, oh, that the one that looks like he's always in pain, that's Jasper. And then you cut to just the look on the actor Jackson Rathbone, the face that he's making as Jasper as he's walking through the cafeteria. I remember everybody laughing at that. Just I like the small moments of humor to kind of bring levity, and I think it's really a funny moment there. So then you have the introduction of Robert Pattinson as Edward when he enters the cafeteria. How can you not just be struck by him? He is so physically beautiful, which is a really important thing that I understand from the books, is that physically these characters are so beautiful. It's stunning and captivating, and you just want to be drawn in and find out more about them, talk to them, have them look at you. You just want to be in their presence. You get all of that in the first 2 seconds you see Robert Pattinson. He's absolutely gorgeous to look at, and he's, of course, gone on to amazing things. If you haven't seen The Lighthouse, he's absolutely incredible in it. He's such a good actor. On that note, if you think about Robert Pattinson and Kristen Stewart, what they've gone on to do in their careers since Twilight, both are really smart with their choices. They like to stick to characters and stories that speak to them, rather than going down the blockbuster, A-lister type route that they could have with the clout they gained from being in Twilight. So both of them artistically have made really cool choices. I'm a fan of both of their work post-Twilight, which made me go back and feel like I was more open to being a fan of their work in Twilight, because I respect them both as artists. So Robert Pattinson, absolutely gorgeous, great introduction to the character when he comes on screen. So Bella and Edward are partnered up in their biology class, and he is struggling with being near her because he's smelling her and he's feeling drawn to the scent of her blood, and he's feeling attracted to her in the vampire way. And she is definitely put off and offended by his behavior because she doesn't understand it. She flat out says, I planned to confront Edward after that first day, but the only reason she didn't was because he stopped coming to school. So this is a girl who, if she's feeling some kind of way about something and she has a problem with how you're behaving toward her, she's gonna let you know. Bella definitely is not afraid to speak her mind. And I really like that about the character. I think a lot of that kind of strength and determination to get to the bottom of things and speak her mind, probably stuff that is being infused into the character by Kristen Stewart, just because Kristen Stewart's a badass. So I love that that carries into the character of Bella. She's definitely planning on confronting him and saying, what the fuck is your problem? Even though they haven't even spoken to each other. So Bella's a badass, and we're gonna keep getting reminded of that throughout the movie, and I love that. So the only reason she doesn't talk to him is because he stopped showing up at school. When he finally does return to biology class, they start to talk, and they start developing this rapport and feeling each other out with the use of the double checking of each other's work when they're looking at the slides. The fact that they're kind of building trust and learning, kind of feeling each other out here. It's a cute way to kind of show that they don't quite trust each other yet, but they're definitely both intrigued with the other's intelligence, and they're conversing. It's really sweet, I think, that Bella starts warming up to Edward a little bit, because if you really pay attention to what he's saying to her, he's genuinely interested in her thoughts and feelings. He does start off asking her about the weather, which, she openly mocks him for making this sort of bland, generic conversation by asking about the weather. But after that, he starts asking her about her thoughts and feelings and what she's going through. He's wanting to know a lot about her as a person. And if you compare that to the experiences she's having with the other boys that she's met at school so far, definitely the polar opposite of how they've been treating her or reacting when they're around her. And clearly Bella and Edward work pretty well together because, of course, she's carrying the coveted golden onion, which means they were the fastest. They won the little contest. So again, she's very direct, and she's openly mocking him that he asked her about the weather, and then is noticing that his eye color keeps changing, and she immediately, instead of just internalizing that and thinking, what's going on there, she just comes right out and asks him, what the fuck is up with your eyes? They've changed color. And he hightails it and runs because he can't answer her question. So then they're in the parking lot, and you have this incident where she's almost hit by her friend Tyler's car, but Edward rushes over and stops it. Then she's at the hospital, and we meet Peter Facinelli as Carlisle. Yet another example in this movie, Catherine Hardwicke, with her casting. She set the tone for everything that was to come throughout the series, even though it's the only movie in the series that she directed. Her hand in the casting had a domino effect on the rest of the series. Peter Facinelli as Carlisle is so good. He totally nails all the nuances of his character's personality. He's very believable that, yes, he's a doctor. He's got that intelligence. He's assertive and protective as a father, but then also he really portrays the other side of Carlisle, which is a kindness, a gentleness. Peter Facinelli is so believable as all of those things wrapped up in one person. He's just so perfectly cast, and he's really, really easy on the eyes as well. So you're keeping with the idea that, yes, all of these people are absolutely stunning and gorgeous vampires, and I definitely would want to hang out around them and talk to them. He is no exception to that. So when Edward tries to convince Bella that she's mistaken about what happened in the parking lot, again, if you're looking at this and looking for Bella to be some sort of shrinking violet or to be something that flies in the face of the idea of feminism, look again, because when he's trying to convince her that she's wrong, she refuses to take his bullshit answers and does not waver or back down from it. She says, okay, if that's what you're going to say, then I guess that's what you're going to say, but that's bullshit. That's basically what she's saying. So then when they see each other again on their little school field trip, Bella continues pushing the issue and asking Edward for the truth. She's not going to let it go. He can't just come up and make small talk with her. She's like, oh, hey, haven't seen you for a few days. By the way, what the fuck is going on with you? She just will not let it go. So then she makes the first move by asking him to join her with her friends at the beach when they're in the cafeteria. She's making the first move. She's being assertive. We know that when her buddy Mike tried to ask her to the prom, Bella firmly but gently let him down because she's not interested in going to the prom and she's not interested in dating him. But then, because she's a homie and a good friend, she makes the extra step of suggesting that he ask Jessica, because she knows Jessica has a crush on him. Well, they're going to have a good time together, so she pushes for that. And then when they are at the beach, her friend Angela tells her that she's waiting for Eric to ask her to the prom. And what does Bella do? She tells Angela, you should just ask Eric yourself. You're a strong, independent woman. Like, come on. So Bella is pushing the idea that she should be assertive because Bella herself is being assertive. So Bella's like team women over here. She's the chick that's going to have your back and going to push you to be a strong, independent woman. So how could she not also be that herself? And so these little moments where she's doing that really shows you how she thinks as a woman, and it's pretty cool to see. So then we're seeing Jacob again. I think for the second time in the movie. He's not super present in this one because he's not really relevant to the storyline yet. He will be later, but again, really good casting. Taylor Lautner as Jacob. He just has a sweetness and a likability. He seems like a very non-assuming, non-threatening person that you would want to be friends with. And can we just talk about what a fucking beautiful smile the kid has? He's a really good-looking kid, and he's got this innocence about him, particularly in this movie, because Jacob, the character, is not yet aware that all the lore and mythology about being descended from wolves and who the Cullens are, he's not really aware that that's all 100% true yet. So the innocence and sweetness that he has about him is really great to see in this movie. It's very endearing. So Jacob asks Bella if she's going to be surfing, and she responds by bringing up, yeah, I don't think so, because I am notoriously lacking coordination. I love that, you know, she slips and falls on the ice. She's like, no way am I going to dance because I'm goofy and clumsy. No, I'm not going to surf. She definitely is aware that this is a weakness she has as a person, and she does bring it up to explain her behavior, but she's definitely not apologizing for it, and she doesn't seem insecure about it. And I really like that. She's like, I know myself, and surfing's definitely not my gig, so let's go walk on the beach and talk. So while they're walking, she pushes Jacob, and he starts giving her information, you know, about the lore and the Cullens, which is definitely piquing her interest. Why aren't they allowed to come on the reservation land and all that? So you're starting to develop the story, the relationship between the Quileutes and the Cullens. After this scene, you've got the first kind of really on-screen introduction to the characters of James, Victoria, and Laurent. So you have Cam Gigonde as James, Rachelle Lefavre as Victoria, and Eddie Gathegi as Laurent. And the three of them, they're doing a really good job appearing menacing here in these earlier scenes with them, particularly in this scene where you're seeing them for the first time and they're getting ready to attack. Catherine Hardwicke does a really good job of conveying how fast they are and how disorienting their quick movements are, without really using a whole lot of CGI or special effects. Again, she was a limited budget. For the effects and stuff is the first thing to go when you're on that limited of a budget. So she gets super creative with the way that she shoots them to make it appear like they are moving at inhuman speeds. So then Bella goes dress shopping with Angela and Jessica because they're looking for dresses for the prom. She's more interested in going off to a bookstore to find information about the Quileute legends and how it might tie into the Cullens and all of that. But she goes with them, and then she breaks off looking for the bookstore, and she is surrounded by a bunch of creeps because, you know, a girl walking alone at night, how dare you? You're asking for it. You're going to end up getting in some trouble. But Edward shows up and rescues her from this bunch of creeps. Once she's in the car with him and they're away from the danger, she is not shaken in her boots because she's scared about what just happened. She's not thanking him for saving the day. She's instantly interrogating him. Like, how did you know where I was? Why did you end up there? What's going on? She's, again, being super upfront and direct with her line of questioning, and she wants answers, damn it. When he tells her, hey, I need you to distract me, she flat out moms him and immediately says, put on your seatbelt, which makes him laugh because, you know, the fact that that's what she's concerned about in this moment. So I like that even though he just saved her from a dangerous situation, Bella is right back in charge of the conversation and how things are going and what they're going to be talking about. So then they end up in a restaurant, and Bella is ready to stand up and walk out the door if Edward doesn't start explaining himself, which any strong-minded woman who wants answers would be doing the same thing. I don't care how cute you are. I'm gonna get the fuck up out of here because you're not answering my questions. So I love that she forces the issue and then he starts to come clean because she's just that determined to find out. So then you have another one of these really funny little moments that definitely makes me giggle, which is when he's explaining that he can read people's minds. You've got this great shot of random people in the restaurant and he's saying what they're thinking: money, sex, cat. And you've got this wistful look on this guy's face like, oh, I wish I was at home with Kitty in my lap. Just another example of the subtle kind of funny humor that definitely, no matter how many times you see it, it makes me giggle. So then Edward reveals that while he can read people's minds, for some reason he cannot read Bella's. And instead of her sitting here going, oh my God, you can read minds? Why? What's that about? How did that happen? She is right back to wanting to dig deeper and wanting to know how it is affecting her and what this means about her, because when he says, I can't read your mind, her response is there something wrong with me? Like, what's going on there? Why can you not read my mind? It's not like an insecurity on her part, not the way that I see it. It's her insisting on getting to the bottom of things and wanting to understand. She's seeing the world from her perspective, so in her mind, that's what this is That's the concerning thing. Not that he can read minds, but wait, what's going on there? Why can't you read mine? Is there something special about me? Something different about me? It's definitely a foreshadowing. If you've seen all of the movies or if you read the books, you know the reason that he cannot read her mind is because of her own innate special abilities that she has. So at this point, she is starting to get the idea there might be something different and special about her. So then Bella goes home and she puts together, through the information from the book and her searches on the internets, that Edward and the Cullens are likely vampires. So the next day at school, when she sees him in the parking lot, if you really pay attention to this shot, Kristen Stewart, Bella, she does not blink. She doesn't say a word. She sees Edward and then walks up to him and straight past him and continues walking without even looking back. As if to say, even though he can't even read her mind, he gets the point. She is saying, you're going to follow me. We need to go somewhere in private because we're going to talk about this right the fuck now. Bella is in charge of the situation. Despite the fact that they're about to discuss the fact that Edward is a monster, she is the one in charge here, and she's not afraid of this information. She just wants to have this conversation right now. So then they move into the woods, and you have, like I was saying earlier, Catherine Hardwicke really uses the hell out of the scenery and how gorgeous of a landscape the Pacific Northwest can be. This shot where they're having all this conversation in the woods, the sweeping shots, the zooming in, the circling at like the world is closing in on them, these odd angles, the fog in the forest, it's just, the lighting is so well done. It's really a beautiful scene visually. So then we're going to get to what is a major sticking point for a lot of people who love vampires, which is the sparkling, the glittering vampires. So let me just say first and foremost, I'm a huge fan of vampires, period. Vampire lore, classic vampire films, classic mythology. I'm here for all of it. They're my favorite quote unquote monster of all time. And if I'm okay with the idea of the sparkling vampires, then maybe you can kind of chill out on this point because really Catherine Hardwicke, Robert Pattinson, they're not to blame. If you're going to blame somebody, blame Stephenie Meyer, because the idea of vampires sparkling in the sun came from her books. Catherine Hardwicke and everyone involved in this movie are just being as true to the source material as they can. So kudos to them for not shying away from this, because it is part of the lore in the books that Stephenie Meyer wrote. So if you're going to blame somebody, blame her. If you just kind of get over the hump of how weird it is compared to what you're used to seeing with vampires, you can kind of start to understand. What it does is the idea of them sparkling, it gives an explanation for their avoidance of sunlight that isn't about the sun being physically damaging to the vampires. And when it's used visually, when you have something that you can physically see like this, the concept works really well in getting that idea across, that they avoid the sunlight for fear of exposure, not because it's physically damaging to them. When Bella sees it, she sees it, and says it looks like diamonds. It's beautiful. So this is a great metaphor. It's a great way of giving you a visual on what's happening internally. She's seeing the qualities of a vampire and the life of a vampire and what it does to a person as beautiful and magical and superhero-like. She's seeing the beauty in it, where Edward says, it's ugly, it's hideous. And that's because he's not comfortable with what he is. He's not comfortable with the life he has to live because of being a vampire. So if you think about it that way, it's just a way to kind of visualize how they're both seeing the idea of being a vampire very differently. So Edward's explaining all of his basically super abilities he has as a vampire. Super speed, I'm designed to look and sound charming and lure you in. He's saying, I hate this because I have an unfair advantage over every normal human being. It's not cool. He doesn't like that he has that, because he can't be on anyone's level. He can't just be a teenager. He can't just have normal friendships and normal relationships, because he's always at this disadvantage. Essentially, he's always going to feel like anyone who's around him that isn't also a vampire is only there because of what he's able to do, not because they genuinely want to be around him. So that's a a thing that, you know, a lot of young people, a lot of teenagers can relate to, questioning people's loyalties, questioning why people like you. So he's explaining that to her, and all Bella sees is, one, he's obviously uncomfortable with who and what he is, and her immediate response is she doesn't care. She's just going to accept how he's feeling about it, and she's going to try to tell him, you know, hey, that's not how I see it. I think it's pretty fucking rad. Who wouldn't look at the abilities the vampires have and think that's kind of cool, and maybe even start thinking, hey, that might be kind of fun to be a vampire. So she's coming from that angle. So she's gonna just accept everything that Edward is, and what he can do and how he feels about it, because she really digs him at this point, not just because he's a vampire, but she digs him as a person. And she's also relieved to find all of this out, because it explains his odd behavior and the hot and cold that she was getting from him. She's intrigued because vampires are real, yo. Like, that's kind of cool. So she's going to roll with it. And if you think about it, the fact that Edward can't read Bella's mind makes her uniquely qualified to be the one person in the crowd, in the sea of people, that he could try to build a real relationship with. Because they are forced to communicate on the same level through words and actions. They have to learn each other's love language, and they have to communicate. There's no way around it, because he doesn't have that advantage he normally has. So she's uniquely qualified to be on his level, and puts him on an even playing field when it comes to getting to know someone and being in a relationship, which really makes her perfect for him. And she's really good for him, if you think about it that way. So then we see them in this field with the purple flowers. It's such a pretty shot, and it's a location that they continue returning to throughout the series. It's like their little happy place. And they're laying there, and you've got this great shot where the camera is sort of spinning around them as they're just lying there looking at each other. And it's a great visualization of how being enamored with someone, and when you're first falling in love with someone, particularly at this beautiful age that they're at, how it feels like the world starts to revolve around you. It's just a really sweet way to visualize that concept. And anyone who's ever, you know, really, really fallen hard for somebody, you know that the chemistry that you're feeling in those early stages is just really sweet. And then you get the actual chemistry between Kristen Stewart and Robert Pattinson. It's just amazing to watch. You're really watching two people, not just the two characters, starting to fall for each other. So it's really, really fun to watch. After this, you're seeing this really great moment between Billy Black and Edward. So Gil Birmingham playing Billy Black. He's a fantastic actor. Go on his IMDb, look up other things he's done. He's been around for a long time, and he's done a lot of great work. I love that they cast him as Billy, even though he feels a little underused throughout the series. I think they could have given him a lot more to work with. You get this really cool moment where he looks at Edward looks at him, and you can just see in Billy's eyes that he knows exactly what Edward is, and he's watching him. He's keeping an eye on him, not just to protect Bella, but to protect the entire town. He definitely conveys all of that through 5 seconds of seeing him make eye contact. So Gil Birmingham, really fantastic actor. And then we can just talk for a minute here, where Bella is going to go to the Cullens' house. How gorgeous is this location? How beautiful this house is from the outside, from the inside. This is just a stunning house. Again, this is a real location. I would suspect that the interiors maybe not shot in the house that you see from the outside, but that house does exist. I believe it's up in the hills of West Lynn, Oregon. Just gorgeous. Really, really smart choices by Catherine Hardwicke to find and scout out these real locations, because you feel like this is a real town, and everything just feels really lush and beautiful with the surrounding trees. So Bella goes into the house, and it's really surprising. All these vampires are living in this house basically made of glass. It's all windows. Edward jokes, what were you expecting, coffins and dungeons? But if you think about it, it's the one place where they don't have to hide. That's what Edward says, which totally makes sense. If you're a vampire and the sunlight doesn't hurt you, but you have to avoid it, you're going to be craving that that sunlight as much as you can when you're in a place that's safe, that you're not worried about people seeing you. So of course their house is like made entirely of windows, because who wouldn't want to revel in their ability to soak up the sun, get that vitamin D, be in the sunshine as much as possible when they're in their safe space and they don't have to be hiding. So it takes the idea of vampires and really brings it into the 21st century that if you were a vampire living in the conditions they're living in, you would save up some money and you would buy a beautiful house like this too. So then we have the introduction of Elizabeth Reeser as Esme, and then you're seeing the Cullen siblings, which you've glimpsed before, but this is our first, we're really seeing kind of their personalities and what they're about. But Elizabeth Reeser particularly as Esme, she is one of my favorite actresses that has kind of come onto my radar in the last 20 years. Anytime I see her in something, Elizabeth Reeser, I'm going to check this out. I'm going to watch it. She's so fantastic. I absolutely can't sing her praises enough. If you haven't seen The Haunting of Hill House on Netflix, she's so incredible in it. It's a great ensemble, but she's just a wonderful, wonderful actress. The second Ouija film, she plays the mother, one of the stars of that movie, and go check her out. Check out her other work if you haven't seen a lot of her. She's criminally underused in this series. I really wish there was a lot more of her, but the small bits you do get, you really feel the warmth and sweetness and strength of Esme as a character, and that is thanks to Elizabeth Reeser being able to do a whole lot with very little material. So as they enter Edward's bedroom, you really see this kind of tentativeness and insecurity, kind of shyness on his part, because he's really opening up and sharing not the whole world of being a vampire, but himself, his personality. This is his private space. And he's sharing that with Bella, and he's just as insecure as any teenage boy would be. And that's really cute to see that. So when he tries to dance with her, and she's like, hey, yo, remember, awkward, can't really dance. And he jokes, well, I could make you dance. Her immediate response, I love this. It's yet another example of Bella being super direct and kind of a badass. When he says, I can make you dance, she's like, I'm not afraid of you. I love that. She keeps reiterating, I'm not afraid of this. I'm not afraid of the vampire thing, and I'm not afraid of you. Bring it on, bitch. Go ahead. Try to make me do something, because I already know you can't read my mind, so good luck with that. Bella is a really strong character, and she just keeps reminding him, hey, I'm not some wilting little wallflower. You don't have the kind of control over me that you would have over a lesser girl, someone who isn't as strong. So she tells him, I'm not afraid of you. I like that she's not so enamored with him and with the idea of being a vampire that she's not aware of the potential downfalls or the downside of it. Because she's seeing him as a whole person when he tells her, we have to go to high school a lot, so we kind of have an inside joke about it. She's like, oh, that must suck. She's definitely seeing that yeah, maybe he's right, and feeling like there's kind of a downside, because she's listening, she's taking it in. It's like, oh, that must suck. You don't sleep, you don't have a bed. That's kind of weird. Like, she doesn't really say it, but you get the idea that she's like, sleep rocks. Like, how sad that you don't get to enjoy a good power nap. So she's definitely, seeing the downsides of it. But when he takes her up into the trees and she's just blown away by the fact that they're up where they are and she can see everything she could see. Again, gorgeous landscape. Such a well done moment. Catherine Hardwicke, these visuals way up high and seeing the whole gorge. It's just absolutely stunning visually. But the fact that Bella's like, oh my God, this can't be real. And Edward's like, it is in my world. So she is seeing how much he struggles with the things about being a vampire that make it hard to connect with people. And she's like trying to build him up a little. She's trying to, he's definitely getting that from her. Who's helping who here? Who's saving who here? Bella is making Edward realize, hey, maybe there is a lot of beauty and a lot to be appreciated with what I can do. It's really fucking cool that she's sort of helping him, maybe for the first time or maybe not in a very long time. She's helping him realize, hey, there's a really cool side to what I can do, and yeah, we can appreciate the beauty in it. So she's helping him out. She's saving him, as far as I'm concerned, saving him from himself and his spiral of vampire isolation and depression. She's really helping him out and helping him grow. So when Edward appears in her bedroom, I like that he points out that he's only been doing it recently for the last couple of months, since they've been getting to know each other and dating. He was not doing it before that. If she saw him or thought she saw him before that, she was dreaming because she wished he would sneak into her bedroom. If you know anything about the rest of the movies or about Edward's backstory as a character, you know that he is someone who is very concerned with politeness, being respectful while courting a girl. He was turned at the age of 17 in the year 1918. So the idea that he would just sneak into a girl's bedroom, see what color underwear she's wearing, watch her sleep because of creepy sexual things, definitely not part of who Edward is as a character. And he does point that out, that he's only been coming around since she has invited him in, essentially, to her world. And he's definitely not doing anything untoward by being here. So I like that he wants to try kissing her to see if he can do it without getting too physically aggressive as a vampire. And she's the one that is being aggressive and pushing him. He's kissing her very gently. She's getting more excited about it, and she's being physically aggressive. He needs to keep his bloodthirst in check, but she needs to keep her hormones in check because he's hot and she horny. So I like that Bella gets that across immediately, like, you know, oh, I wish I had the same level of control you do, buddy, because I'm ready to rip your shirt off over here. Bella's definitely, they're on the same level as far as having to keep their desires in check for different reasons, but they're definitely on the same level here. And then you've got them talking, just sitting on her bed, very innocent and unassuming. They're just conversing and being near each other. And you have that beautiful score that repeats throughout the entire series. Bella's tune, I guess you want to call it, the romantic melody that plays. It's a beautiful piece of music, and whoever composed it, shame on me, I should have looked it up so I could give them proper credit, but whoever composed this piece of music, it's beautiful, and it repeats throughout the series, and it really is just lovely, lovely music. Another thing you might know about me if you listen to several of our podcasts is I always notice and appreciate I have an ear for music, so I really love that tune. It's just beautiful. And then you get to Bella is telling Charlie, hey, I've got a date with Edward Cullen. And he's cool with the Cullens. Clearly he has, interactions with Carlisle. He knows who they are. He doesn't really have a problem with them. But the minute one of them's going to date his daughter, he's got a fucking problem. So Charlie immediately turns into this overprotective, shotgun-toting dad because he's a cop and because he is who he is. But if you are really paying attention to Bella and her point of view, she's like, oh, that's cute, the cleaning the shotgun on the porch. Yeah, I'm still going out with Edward. Bye, Dad. Because Bella's going to do what Bella's going to do. That determination to be in charge of, to have that autonomy to be in charge of what she's doing. She's not going to be told what to do by her father. So then they head to the baseball game, and anybody who wants to say that the use of this song by Muse, Supermassive Black Hole, this scene, the idea that they can only do this because the thunder, the sound of them hitting the ball is the whole idea of this scene, the way that it's shot, the way you're really seeing the vampires, what they're able to do physically for the first time. It's fucking iconic. It is super cool. Anytime I hear that song, this is instantly what I think of. They're having such a good time. The effects are, you're really seeing where some of the budget for the effects went with how they're able to move. It's shot in a really super cool way. The choice of music, again, really, really smart choice for the song. It's a fucking iconic scene, and if you don't agree, then I think you're maybe watching a completely different movie, because how can you not be left with the impression that this scene is giving you? It's really cool. So then we have, so I keep referring to them in my own head as the Black Eyed Peas, because I saw the film Vampires Suck, which was a lampooning of Twilight, and it made me laugh so fucking hard when they refer to these characters as the Black Eyed Peas. So I can't unsee that, and every time I see them in the actual movie Twilight, that's what I think of as Black Eyed Peas. So we have the Black Eyed Peas show up, Laurent, Victoria, and James, when they're coming onto the area, the baseball field, the use of what I think is probably a treadmill, and the actors sort of appearing like they're walking, but they're also gliding, and they're moving at an inhuman speed. It's happening really slowly, but you get the idea that they're moving way too fast. That's such a fucking cool shot. What a smart way to make that look the way that it does. It's just like a bit of behind the scenes trickery how they do it. I'm pretty sure they're doing it with, like one of those treadmill things that you can walk on at the airport. You feel like you're superhuman because you're walking twice as fast as everybody. I think that's what they're doing here, and it's super effective. It looks really fucking cool. It's probably a relatively cheap way to pull the effect off. So kudos to Catherine Hardwicke and her team of people for coming up with this idea. So after they leave the baseball game, James, he's picking up on emotions, and he feels what Edward's feeling. He realizes Bella's a human. He's now obsessed with the idea of tracking her down and hurting her because he wants to fuck with Edward. Edward gets all of that by reading his mind. They leave, and Edward is super upset in the car because he has put Bella in danger. He's not blaming her, or he's not making her feel like you're a weak person and you're not a vampire and that's why we're in this shitty situation. He feels very responsible. And they're in the car, and his immediate response is to want to just get her away from the situation, get her out of danger. But again, if you're thinking about everything from Bella's perspective, you will notice that she is going to fucking insist that they do not run. They have to go back to her house because Charlie. She loves fiercely, and she loves her dad. She does not want anything to happen to him. They change their course. They're going to go to Bella's house so that she can deal with getting Charlie out of danger. They do that at Bella's insistence. Who's in charge here? It's Bella, not Edward. So knowing that Catherine Hardwicke really fought to cast this particular actor in the role of Laurent, you get this really cool moment where Laurent comes to the Cullens' house to explain to them. He's going to come clean about what James and Victoria are capable of and what they're setting out to do here. He's coming to be a friend and warn Carlisle and their family. He has this redeeming moment as a character with Eddie Gathegi being such a great actor, and this character is doing something really cool and interesting. I almost sort of wish for more of a backstory and a story about Laurent as a character and his history. He's a great actor, and he's doing really cool things with the character here. So I love the fact after this that Carlisle is insisting they as a family are going to do everything they can to protect Bella because Edward has chosen her as his mate. The idea that Carlisle is going to accept Edward's decision, his choice of Bella, rather than judging him for it or trying to assert his opinion on whether she's right or wrong. They're just going to accept Bella as part of their family. She's an extension of their family because Edward loves her, period. It's a really powerful message about parents accepting their children's choices and families needing to accept a member's choices and honor that and give them your love and support. And that's what's happening here. So Rosalie, she's reluctant because she doesn't agree with Edward's choice, but she's on board because they're a family. And that's really cool. So Bella heads to Arizona with Alice and Jasper. And this is the first time that you see Alice really having a vision of the future, which is what her ability is, something special that she can do. And she's having a vision of James going to what Bella recognizes as a ballet studio that she has been in before. I like that they take the time to explain here that Alice sees the future based on the path a person is currently on. If you think about someone having visions of the future, it's one of those logic holes that starts to really not make sense if you think too hard about it, like the idea of traveling to the past, affecting the future. You're just going to get caught in this endless loop of this isn't logical, it doesn't make sense. The idea that they're explaining that hole in the logic of it can change because she's seeing it based on the path a person's currently on, and people have free will, people have the choice to change their fate. There is no set path. And her visions of the future are definitely reliant on the fact that that is always going to be the case. So it's another reminder that everyone is not destined for a particular fate. Everyone is in charge of their own future. But they explain that, and I appreciate that. However, Bella is so fiercely independent that even though she realizes she's no match for James and Victoria, because they're vampires and they're superhuman, she is still willing to leave the safety and protection of the Cullens because she thinks that her mother's in danger. Bella is going to do what Bella wants to do. And she's coming from a place, much like her decision that they had to go back to her house to protect Charlie. She fiercely loves the people she loves, and she's going to put herself in danger in order to protect them. Bella's a very, very, very strong person. Her constitution and her will and her devotion to the people that she loves. I like that she's willing to put herself in danger. And we call back to the line that she was saying in voiceover in the beginning and now is making sense, where Bella's saying, I never spent a whole lot of time in my life thinking about how I would die, but dying in the place of someone I love seems like a good way to go. She's really taking ownership of her fate and making it her decision. So when James has her in the ballet studio and she's injured, he tells her, it's a shame Edward hasn't turned you and he left you this fragile little human. And then he breaks her leg and demands that she scream out to Edward for help. He is mistaken. She is not a fragile little human, because despite the excruciating pain she's in, she refuses to do what he says. She's not screaming out to Edward to come save her or help her. She is screaming out for Edward to stay away because she's in the situation she's in and she doesn't want him to get hurt. It's a common thing that we see with her character is she will go above and beyond and put herself in harm's way for the people that she loves. That's not a weakness. That's a strength, people. So she's not counting on Edward to come save her. She's warning him to stay away. But of course, Edward does come. We have this really great scene, the action scene, the fighting between Edward and James. Huge portion of the money in the budget that was reserved for special effects, stunt work, CGI, that's definitely being used here. Catherine Hardwicke had to pick and choose where it went, and we really get a payoff here where we're seeing these really great shots of what they are physically capable of as they're fighting. It's a really cool action sequence. Very well done. The stunt workers do an incredible job. Like, this is a really cool fight scene, and you feel like you're finally getting your money's worth as far as what can the vampires do. So it's very well done and it's well timed in the movie. So Carlisle busts in and stops Edward from killing James because he doesn't want that for him. He doesn't want him to kill another person, whether it's a vampire or a human being, in a fit of rage in the angry and scared state that he's in. Carlisle loves Edward. He does not want that for him. He doesn't want that on his conscience. So he's going to pull Edward away and bring him over to Bella, who needs him. That's what's important, is the person you love needs your help, not the rage and anger that you're feeling. He tells Edward, your brothers will handle it. Meaning Emmett and Jasper. However, when you see Emmett and Jasper pull James away, who comes in and actually handles business? It's Alice. She's going to get up there and rip his fucking head off. I love that. If you're really looking for who's really wearing the pants and who's really got the power in all of these relationships with all these characters, you see a lot of female empowerment. Alice is definitely the person who's really going to handle business here when James is concerned. Then Alice is with Bella and Edward and Carlisle, and she says, I have seen that Bella is going to become a vampire based on the current course we're all on. So James bit Bella before he ended up off with Edward. He bit her, so she's been poisoned, quote unquote, and she's going to turn into a vampire. She's also bleeding profusely from the leg, so she's in that moment that Carlisle usually would choose to offer vampirism to somebody. She's dying. She's going to bleed to death. However, the choice has already been made for her because James bit her. She did not ask for it. She didn't want to turn into a vampire. This is just what's happening. She's going to bleed to death or she's about to turn. And so Alice says, hey, just let her turn because I've seen it. She is going to become a vampire. However, Edward is insisting that it can't happen like this. The reason he's doing that is because he wants to protect Bella's ability to choose her own fate, to choose her own future. This has been forced upon her. He doesn't want that for her. He's not making the choice for her. He is saving her freedom to choose. So if you think about it that way, you realize that it's not about Bella or Edward controlling Bella's future. It's about him trying to preserve her ability to choose for herself, which is actually really great. So he has this moment that's a reversal of him turning her into a vampire. He has to stop himself from drinking her blood in order to get the poison out. So it's this reversal of the situation that he's been afraid of, where he would not be able to stop himself if he were drinking her blood. It's not because he's changing her, it's because he's trying to stop her from changing. He's being really selfless, and he does, of course, at Carlisle's reminding, he does find the willpower to stop himself and do just enough to save Bella's life. So then after that, she's in the hospital. When she's awake and alert, she's talking with Edward, and he tells her, you should go to Florida and live with your mother. so that I can't hurt you anymore. This is what his concern has been all along, is that him and his lifestyle and the way that things are for him, being a vampire, that it's constantly putting her at risk, it's putting her in danger, and he feels responsible. He loves her, he doesn't want her hurt and to be affected in a bad way by all of this and everything that comes along with him. So he's telling her, you should leave. And Bella, being true to who Bella is, absolutely will not hear any of it. Don't tell me what I have to do. Don't tell me that I have to go. I want you. I love you. This is where I want to be, and you're not gonna fucking tell me what to do. Just like she does with her father, just like she does at every other moment where Bella's really asserting herself and her determination to fight for what she wants as a person. She's being true to who she's been throughout, which is someone who is not going to be told what to do. And that's exactly what she's doing here. There's no way he's going to tell her that he knows what's best for her. She wants what she wants, so fuck you if you're not happy with it. I'm staying here. So then, of course, they go to the prom, which is really sweet that even though it's not really her gig, it's not what she's interested in, Edward encourages her that, hey, it's a normal teenage thing. Someday you won't be a teenager and you'll maybe regret not doing it, so let's just go. So they're going, even though she's got her little cast on her leg. Once they get there, we finally see Jacob again. As I mentioned before, he's not super present in this movie because he's not relevant to the beginnings of the story between Edward and Bella. But he's there to kind of remind you and give you a foreshadowing of things to come. Like, hey, I'm here. I'm not quite sure what the story is, but I'm supposed to be giving you a warning. That we're watching you, to Bella, to Edward, to all the Cullens. So he's not 100% sure why he's here doing this, but there's this ominous moment between him and Edward where they're exchanging eye contact, and you're starting to see the rumblings of who Jacob really is, that there is that wolf inside him, and it is like diametrically opposed to what Edward is. He's starting to feel that, and it's a nice little foreshadowing that, hey, you're going to see a whole lot of what this is about, and you're going to see a whole lot more of Jacob in the subsequent movies. It's a little reminder that he's there and give you an idea of what's to come, the tension between him and Edward and between the wolves and the vampires. So Bella is then telling Edward as they're dancing together that she has now decided she wants to become a vampire. This is the first time she's expressing that. It's the first time that he's hearing that. Side note is during this scene, you get this beautiful song, Flightless Bird, American Mouth. Again, this film has such a good soundtrack. That is such a beautiful song. I do believe I read somewhere once that this song in particular, which continues throughout and is a big part of the eventual wedding between Edward and Bella, this song was brought in, suggested by Kristen Stewart herself. So side note here would be, so cool that they took the time to find really great music and put together a stellar soundtrack, and kudos to Kristen Stewart that she has really fucking great taste in music and that they were listening to her suggestion there. So she tells Edward for the first time that she has decided she wants to become a vampire. Edward basically isn't ready to accept that Bella's making that decision because it's not really something that he's come across before, the idea that someone who is healthy, who is not in a dire situation, who is not dying or being attacked, someone would just walking around as a healthy human being decide one day, hey, I want to become a vampire, is very foreign to him. And then he's not 100% on board with the idea that being a vampire is fucking cool. So he's thinking about not wanting all the negative shit for her either. So he's not quite ready to accept this choice. We know through watching all the movies that eventually, of course, he does honor and accept Bella's choice as a independent woman, as a person who is solidly in charge of her own fate. He's just not ready to do it yet. So Bella can see that he's not quite ready yet, and that's fine. She tells him, okay, I'm willing to wait a little while. So she's compromising, not bending to his will. She's compromising with the boy that she is in a partnership with, in a relationship with. And she says in voiceover, no one will surrender tonight, but I won't give in. I know what I want. So we're ending the film, the final words of the movie here, with what we began with, which is Bella's voiceover. This is her story. It's about who she is as a person, her journey, not to figuring out who she is. She already knows who she is from minute one, but to figure out what path she wants to take, what path she wants her life to take. She's figuring that out. She knows who she is. She's known who she is all along. And we end right where we started with Bella's thoughts, because that is the central character and she is who this story is about. She's just as strong as she's always been. I know what I want. So we know in the movies to come after this one that we're dealing with someone who figured out vampires are real, decided that's my path, that's what I want, and she is now going to begin the journey of fighting to get what she wants. I love that we end with that. Bella is a badass through and through from beginning to end with this movie. Her thoughts on the subject are pretty goddamn clear and definitive if you're really paying attention to what she's saying here. And then we have, even though those are the last words spoken, we have this great shot where you see Victoria watching them from the windows as they're dancing outside. I remember when I first saw this movie, Victoria's not a super prevalent character throughout this film, and so after the huge confrontation and everything happened, went down with James, I sort of forgot that Victoria was part of the picture because she wasn't there and she wasn't part of that. So when you see her, it's like, oh shit, I forgot about Victoria. This is how I felt anyway. And then I started thinking in that moment where you have this great slow motion shot of the gorgeous actress Rochelle Lefevre walking away, like, oh wait, she gonna be pissed. She has a entirely different motive than James had for wanting to hunt Bella, Edward, the people they care about, down. Her motive is revenge. He was my partner, he was my love, and y'all ripped his head off. She has a totally different motivation, so that's another really cool foreshadowing moment, like, hey, remember her? Yeah, what do you think she's thinking right now? So then that is just designed and really well done to make you go, oh shit, oh, when's the next movie? Fuck, what's going to happen here? So really cool that you see her and remember who she is and that there's a lot more story to be told here. So that's the way the film ends. The first Twilight in the series. There you have it. And that's my take on this original movie. Nothing to do with conversations about the rest of the series, just this movie as a standalone film. And I'm hoping that if you're not a fan of this movie, but you've seen it before, so you went ahead and listened to what I had to say, you might want to go ahead and give it a rewatch and maybe think about what I've had to say as far as Bella and her as a woman, her as a girl, her as a character. You might have a change of heart like I did. This movie definitely proves to me that where you're at in life and where your headspace is at when you see a film affects how you interpret it and what you take away from it. Because I know that me in 2008 versus me 10 years later was a very different person, and I see this movie and the character of Bella very differently than I initially did. Maybe you will too if you give it a rewatch. So thank you so much for listening to this episode of Let's Talk Turkeys. This is Nikki Flixx. I'm a proud feminist and a lover of classic vampire lore. And I'm here to say that if someone like me can be a Twilight fan, then maybe you can too.
Hey listeners, Movie Miss here. Listen, I know you have a lot of options when it comes to podcasts, so thank you for listening to the show. I know everybody says this, but for a fledgling little show like ours that's just hanging on, we just finished season 4, we're rolling into season 5, it would really help us if you could subscribe, rate, and review the show on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, Good Pods. We're also on Pandora, Audible, Amazon Music. It would really help us grow the show and reach more people if you could subscribe and then rate and review, which is really the key part of it. Make sure to be part of our bad movie conversation by following us on social media. Interact with me on social media. I'm on Instagram at Movie Miss, which is movie_miss. The show is on Instagram at Let's Talk Turkeys. Also on Blue Sky at Let's Talk Turkeys and Facebook. We're on X. I'm honestly not sure how much longer I'm going to have the show on there, but currently the handle is at Gobble Podcast. Get it? Gobble, 'cause like a turkey. You can also chat with like-minded bad movie lovers in our Facebook discussion group. And like I mentioned, we're rolling into season 5. It is 2025. The show, it's been a wild ride, still going strong. So if you have a movie that you would like to hear covered on the show, let me know by emailing direct at letstalkturkeys, all one word, at yahoo.com. Also, hit me up on socials if you want to be a guest on the show. Always looking for guests. I can assign you a movie, something we think is fun, or you can bring a movie that you think is a bad movie if it has a low Rotten Tomatoes score, or you just really don't like the movie but you like to talk about it. That's half the fun, I think. Again, this goes without saying, but I'm going to say it. Without you, the show wouldn't still be kicking around. So thank you so much for hanging in there with us.
I'll be back.
Get the fuck out of here! No, I cannot.
Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. Why don't you get the fuck out of here?
Get the fuck out of here.
Oh, get the fuck out of here.
Get the fuck out of here.
Get the fuck out of here.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.